Hi, everybody. Ian Bremmer here with Moose the dog, who's barely awake. It's a happy Monday to you. And we are still deep in the throes of coronavirus. Myself, the country, the world, the president. I mean, it's what we're talking about. It is by far the most important story out there. But what a crazy news cycle. My God. I mean, if you think about the last few days, you've got a new Supreme Court nominee they're trying to move through. You've got Trump's former campaign manager getting arrested after an attempted suicide. You've got massive tax revelations in the New York Times about Trump not paying taxes for 10 years and then paying $750 for 2 years in a row, which is kind of a weird number. And then, of course, the most historically ridiculous presidential debate that any of us had seen. And, of course, all of that goes out the window because President Trump is found to be positive for coronavirus, as well as the First Lady Melania and his press secretary and a couple of Republican senators and a whole bunch of other people. Turns out that this event in the Rose Garden and inside the White House was a super spreader event. Lots of people getting coronavirus inside the White House. Which, means maybe you don't want to spend as much time there. Anyway, quite something, and obviously a negative for Trump's re-election campaign efforts. The reason being that he doesn't want to talk about coronavirus. He wants to talk about the economy, where he polls better than Biden consistently, and he wants to talk about the Supreme Court nominee, who he probably still gets through, but with 3 Republican senators now having gotten coronavirus, 2 on the Judiciary Committee, 2 that attended the Coney Barrett announcement in the Rose Garden, you have a delay in Senate's ability to convene. And if there are more positive cases, it's possible that it'll be hard to get done until the lame duck. In any case, you've only got 4 weeks to go, less than 30 days to go, thank God, before the election. And what that means is we're talking about coronavirus for at least a couple of those weeks, first and foremost. And that makes it very hard for Trump to gain ground. He's behind. He's behind a little bit more than he was after those debates, and probably still after being hospitalized. He's leaving the hospital shortly. What is the strategy going forward? Well, if you're Trump, it is the Bolsonaro strategy. It's what the Brazilian president did. Very simple. It is, I'm fine. I got through this. I wasn't going to lock myself down because it's horrible for the economy. I've got to do my job just like you have to do your job. If that means I get this disease, okay, it knocked me out for a bit. But hey, I'm not young. I'm not Melania. I'm 74. I'm still able to get back on my feet. We've got to deal with this. And so don't be scared. Don't panic. Don't take it so seriously. And by the way, that also means that he's not going to be saying we all have to mask up. I made a mistake. He's not going to say we all have to social distance. I made a mistake. He's going to say, I was right to not listen to Dr. Fauci. I was right to not listen to all of the scientists, all the epidemiologists that wanted us to lock down. No, we've got to get the economy going again. And the Democrats are the ones that are trying to lock you down. Now, that worked for Bolsonaro. He went from 40% to 50% in 1 month after he contracted coronavirus. Trump is he's a little under 40% right now. If he could get 10 points, heck, if he could get 5 points, he'd be much more in this race. But Bolsonaro's popularity didn't just come because he dealt with the virus and he was fine. It also came because the numbers of coronavirus cases was going down in Brazil during that month significantly. The cases, the hospitalizations, and the deaths. And lots of checks were being written. 47% of the entire Brazilian population were getting big checks in their pockets. Further stimulus and relief. Now, in the United States, it's getting colder. You got states that are opening up. We now just had the largest number of cases that the U.S. has seen in 2 months. It's moving in the other direction. People are talking about a second wave. Those numbers are probably going to continue to be reasonably high. They might soften a bit, but not like you saw in Brazil. So that's harder. And the ability to get a deal done on stimulus for a couple $1 trillion. I mean, Pelosi, Speaker of the House, and Secretary of Treasury Mnuchin are talking to each other. They're interested in getting a deal, and they might even announce one, but getting one actually through both houses of Congress fast enough that it matters for the election, I'm not sure there's time. In other words, the two things that got Bolsonaro up to 50 don't look like they're going to get Trump up to 45. Also, the country's much more divided, the U.S., than Brazil is. And the level of hatred for Trump among those that really don't like him, and the level of love for Trump among those that really love him, is so much more entrenched. I mean, the number of people I've seen on social media that are saying, I hope the president dies, that, you know, that would be a good thing. He's the president. I mean, I hope he loses. I don't hope he dies. I wanted him to recover as quickly as possible. He's a human being. The fact that he doesn't show empathy for anyone else doesn't affect me in terms of the way I think about other people. Like, that's a strange thing. But it's so divided, it's so ugly, it's so partisan that I just don't see any amount of potential sympathy for the president having gone through this. None at all, aside from people that already love him. So, I mean, it's kind of the amazing thing is the fact that he's on the other side of this, mishandled this as badly as he has. 210,000 Americans dead, test capacity nowhere near what it should be, not wearing masks, not taking the lead on social distancing, so much worse response than a country like Germany, which we should be doing better than, and we're not. And yet Trump's approval has not really slipped on the back of that either. So it works both ways. The electorate just isn't really moving, but he needs a lot more independence. He needs a lot more turnout, and I just don't see that happening. So I still think the strategy for President Trump is obscure, a lot of chaos, contest the outcome, say the mail-in ballots are fake and fraudulent, and hope that allows you to be able to say, we don't know who won, and so it's not clear, and so it was rigged, and then push that as far as you can. I think, you know, when you're losing and you're Trump, that's the strategy. Before I let you guys go, my God, Armenia Azerbaijan, a significant war. Looks like thousands dead now, not hundreds, thousands, and there's actually attacks, drone strikes, missiles on Armenia proper, on Azerbaijan proper. It's not just about Karabakh, the contested territory, anymore. The international community, almost all of them are calling for a ceasefire, except Turkey, because President Erdogan's popularity's down, his economy's in the toilet. He's tried to, raise nationalist support for drilling in the Eastern Mediterranean, got bloodied up a bit by the Greeks in the United States, told him to calm down. So he's the one that's willing to take risks, and he's on the side of Azerbaijan. The case of Russia, which traditionally would have kept Azerbaijan, in their corner, they're selling weapons to both countries, and Armenia's had a peaceful transition to democracy. They're more independent from the Russians. They're still supporting the same defense treaties, trade, and all the rest, but Putin's not very happy with that. So he's clearly willing to stand by and let the Azeris and others bloody the Armenians up a bit. Not much being said in the United States right now because we're so damn distracted. Usually there would be. Look, truth in advertising, my mom's Armenian, so I obviously have a personal and family view on this, but as a political scientist, but I try to be as open and balanced as I possibly can. As a political scientist, it's very clear that this should be it's a contested territory that both have historical attachment to. It should be negotiated settlement. It should not be the Azeris engaging in attacks and shelling civilians. And I'm hoping that we'll see much more international engagement to try to bring that about. In the near term, you had the Secretary General of NATO coming out a few hours ago saying Turkey should play a role in calming this down. Turkey's doing everything they can to actually escalate the violence. So, that's just, yes, Turkey's a NATO ally, but they're not acting like one. And that's going to become increasingly obvious, I fear, over the coming days and weeks. So that's a quick take for you. Hope everyone's doing well. Moose is back asleep. Moose, hey, Moose. Say hi. There you go. Moose says hi. See you guys soon.